Hey guys, happy International Animation Day! Today is the day. We've been doing this theme on Planet Tyro, celebrating international animation, animated features all over the world. And today is the day itself, October 28th. And I was thinking about what do I want to talk about on the day? What video am I going to put out on the channel? And it was going to be either one of two things. I picked the second one, but what I was going to do, I was going to talk about Ralph Bakshi. But I'm going to leave that for next year because I want to do a little bit more research, and I might even do an overview of a lot of his movies next year. But so this year I want to speak about Studio Ghibli. Now Studio Ghibli need no introduction. They're one of the biggest, most popular animation studios in the world. Now people have asked us on the channel, what do we think of Studio Ghibli? Because I think a few of the titles we've spoken about in the past, we've been very critical about and even been somewhat disappointed. But in light of the most recent things happening with Studio Ghibli, like the company going into a kind of a hiatus, Hayao Miyazaki leaving, coming back, but things are not folding well for the company, and they just released their most recent, or their last movie, I think it's called Marnie Was Here or something, which I just finished watching. So I want to take the opportunity to speak about Studio Ghibli, my personal thoughts. This is going to be not a retrospective, but more of an editorial from the creator of Planet Tyro. And you know, there's much better people that have done well in-depth retrospectives, episode or movie by movie, speaking about the cast, the creation of the studio. We're not going to do that here. If you just want to hear me speak about my thoughts and most of what we at Planet Tyro think, then stay tuned. Other than that, you might not be interested. So I'm just going to give you guys full disclosure. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, and it's not going to be that informative, but I've got some interesting points here and there. So I will say thanks for watching, and let's start talking about Studio Ghibli. So before we get started, let me just pretend that you've been living under a rock and you have no idea of who Studio Ghibli or what Studio Ghibli is, which is very unlikely. Here's a one minute blurb. Studio Ghibli are a Japanese animation studio. They created a lot of very popular international animated features like Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and Ponyo. These are the three you're probably going to recognize the most. If you haven't watched any of these three, you haven't known, then I highly suggest you check out either the link I put on the screen now or a link on the retrospective, because Studio Ghibli is something you really should have seen. And they're associated with Disney because Disney did a lot of distribution for a lot of their movies, theatrically and home video. So Disney are behind them. You don't know Studio Ghibli, check them out. But moving on from that, let's pretend you do know who Studio Ghibli is. At the time of this recording, it's November 2015. And Studio Ghibli, I think last year, 2014, they announced that the company is going to go into a state of hiatus. They said they were going to close, and then they were restaffing. They were kind of regrouping themselves because financially they've been doing less successfully since, I think, Spirited Away in 2001. I think the highest gross on that was $275 million US. Ever since then, that was their highest, and they've been slowly on a decline ever since. And that could be because of the storylines that they use, and because of the visuals, because of the high production costs, the marketing. There's a lot of reasons why, but bottom line is Studio Ghibli aren't doing as well, and their movies just haven't been as good as their older movies. And that's my own personal opinion, and it also shows in the sales of the movie tickets or the DVDs or whatnot. So their last movie that I just finished watching about a day ago from recording this video, I think it's called Marnie Was Here or Marnie Was Around, something like that. And you know, after I watched this movie, and I'll speak about some of the other recent movies as well, not all of them, but after I watched this recent movie, I thought to myself, if this is the last movie Studio Ghibli ever did, would this be a good ending legacy for them? I'm not going to give a review on the movie, but I will say this, the movie is very, very sweet. It's a very sweet movie, a very nice sentiment, and the animation is gorgeous, but it's very slice of life. It's just a family drama at its core. And, you know, I came away thinking, you know, this isn't the best Ghibli has to offer. And if this is the ending, if this is a swan song, is kind of lackluster. I hate to say that, but and when I look at Studio Ghibli on a whole, a lot of people will agree the first 10 years of Studio Ghibli's career, or their first 10 movies, are their strongest, kind of their most creative or their most popular, but I just think that is their best. If in the late 2000s, they also had one or two really good movies as well. But in recent years, like their last 4 movies, kind of hit and miss on them. Let me go back to The Secret World of Arrietty. Arrietty is our most recent review that we spoke about Studio Ghibli, and we were so disappointed with it because it was taken from The Borrowers, which is the English book about these miniature people, and I was expecting Ghibli to do something really creative with it, and it was really kind of bland and really kind of bleh. And I even thought to myself, if Disney had this movie, they would do something really more different in this. I was disappointed with The Secret World of Arrietty. Then there was Up on Poppy Hill, that was another just kind of a slice of life drama, family, just these kids, Then after that, I believe there was The Wind Rises. Was it The Wind Rises? That was a bit more of a return to form. I really liked that movie, but because it was a World War II movie, people felt like people were thinking of Game of the Fireflies, and they felt like, kind of seen this before from Ghibli, but I thought it was a step in the right direction. Now the next movie, The Tale of Princess Kaguya, I'm gonna leave that for later because that was fucking great. So we'll get back to that. And that brings us to this last movie again. Nani was here. And the thing about Studio Ghibli is they make, I guess I hold Studio Ghibli up to a certain pedestal where all their movies are really good. They're of a high caliber, especially in terms of animation. But their stories range from being good to great to meh. So most of their movies are good, a few of them are great, and a small few are just meh. And I think there's one that's just really not good at all. So, Studio Ghibli is a mixed bag, but, this is a small company. From the time they came out, 1985, I want to say they were competing against Disney, but they were creating animation that was even better looking and storytelling than Disney. And this was a much smaller animation studio. And they've kept on making movies. If you look at the filmography, Studio Ghibli have produced movies every 12 to 18 months since 1985. I think, was it Nausicaa was the first one? I might be wrong. And it's gone on and on till today. And the production has always been 2D. It's always been slice of life fantasy. I mean, the stories, they vary, but then some of them feel like, I think a criticism to Studio Ghibli is, a lot of their stuff do feel kind of the same, even though some of the storylines can be varied. Adventure, fantasy, not really action, more like adventure, fantasy, family, slice of life for the most part. But man, they're so gorgeous. And when I heard that they were coming apart, when the studio was closing down, I felt bad. But looking at the quality from a story perspective, they're going up against Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and we're talking about a world stage. And these guys, Studio Ghibli, are on a world stage. Disney helped them with distribution. There's a lot of other countries that help them distribute. But if you're talking about theatrical releases and competition-wise, the stories that Studio Ghibli are making, they're not cannon fodder. They're not just typical. A lot of these other child-friendly, How to Train Your Dragon or Toy Story, or they're always coming up with very dynamic, very catchy stories. Studio Ghibli are going with a much more traditional slice of life kind of, mellow kind of feel. Where they've had good adventures, very, Laputa Castle in the Sky, Princess Mononoke. They've had adventure. But I see where things have gone wrong for them. And I think a lot of it to do is it costs a lot of money to make the production. And apparently, looking at the finances, if you do the research, apparently, financially, they haven't been doing, it's a high upkeep to make their movies all these years. And they just haven't been making enough back. But ironically, the worldwide gross for them is always in the 100 to 200 million. But domestically in the West, they're only making 10 to 5 million. So they're not making a lot of money. On top of that, we know the anime industry, going to Japanese in particular, they don't do so well. So, I look at Studio Ghibli, and as an older gentleman who likes animation which has more mature storytelling, Studio Ghibli is for me. I like their stories. I like mature stories. I like slice of life. For me, Studio Ghibli stories are much more timeless because they've got to do with a lot of character stuff, a lot of character development, a lot of family issues. These are themes that will live through time. Disney, DreamWorks, they deal with just stories that are very just kind of popcorny, you know, superheroes or super adventures. And Studio Ghibli is just a little bit deeper than that. But it's a catch-22 because you can appeal to people in terms of longevity and in terms of story creativity and what's going to resonate. But is that going to sell? If we're talking about bottom line money figures, it isn't doing it, you know. And like I said, this last movie in particular, I was like, it's not going to compete against Disney. It's not making waves. And even against Studio Ghibli's other works, again, it's kind of lackluster. It's not a wow movie. It's just an okay movie. And they put so much money into the animation. I kind of know why they're failing. So, you know, I don't want to go on and on about it. But Studio Ghibli, I don't want to see them go. But I can understand what's happening. And I mean, Studio Ghibli's always been hailed from Hayao Miyazaki. Hayao Miyazaki is the guy that really brings Studio Ghibli to the forefront. And everybody else in studio doesn't matter. But I disagree. I think the other guy is Aisito Aito, the guy who did the director of Grave of the Fireflies. His most recent movie was The Tale of Princess Kaguya. This movie was great. The story was great. The visuals were fantastic. This was so creative. And this was one of Studio Ghibli's most underrated movies. People still haven't seen this. I love this movie. This came out in 2014 or 13, I believe. This was one of their most recent movies, and I was like, even this didn't do good at the box office. Studio Ghibli as a name brand, they're not bringing in what they used to, you know. It feels like to me they had 3 or 4 years of shine, you know, and now they've gone back into obscurity. But, you know, even if I go back on my history, guys, let me be completely honest with you. As an anime fan, I never even got into Studio Ghibli until it was like the late 2000s because they didn't have distribution worldwide. They were kind of nichey. And it was Disney that helped them get the distribution worldwide that got my attention, that got everyone's attention. But now they've gone back into obscurity, and now it's just sad. It really is sad. It's a sad state of affairs. I hold Studio Ghibli on its own pedestal. Like, I criticize them, and I want them to do better like they did in the good old days. Like they did in those first 10 years with Laputa, Nausicaa, Grave of the Fireflies, My Neighbor Totoro. You know, let me wrap this up. Whisper of the Heart used to be my favourite Ghibli movie. And I'm going to be a hipster because I look like a hipster right now. Whisper of the Heart has no fantastical elements. It's just a straight drama. And this is I think this has been one of their most least profitable movies. And this was my favourite Ghibli movie for so many years. And then I watched Kiki's Delivery Service. And that was just like Whisper of the Heart, but with some more fantastical elements. So I asked myself, do I want Studio Ghibli to change? Do I want them to just do more popcorny storylines to get that money? I don't want Studio Ghibli to change, but are they going to make money the way they're going on? It's not looking likely for them. And right now, as I said, Hayao Miyazaki is on the kind of permanent hiatus. Studio Ghibli have gone dark and saying they're not going to make another movie until they do restructuring. I don't know what I want with Studio Ghibli. Honestly, I want them to keep making movies, but to succeed, they might need to compromise and be a little bit more popcorny. But I just don't see them doing it. I don't think that's their MO. And you know, it's a sad state of affairs. I want Studio Ghibli. I kind of want directors to come out of Studio Ghibli and make another studio. That kind of like what Studio Trigger have done, and do something new studio, new ideas, something more creative. Because Studio Ghibli is kind of showing its age with storytelling. Hayao Miyazaki and those guys, I feel like a lot of their stuff are the same. They need to be more creative and something. I want them to pass the torch down. I would love it if Studio Ghibli, in their own name, could continue and we have a new rebirth. I just don't see it happening. So I do want to see them pass the torch to some new directors. I kind of want people to branch off from that studio like they've done in anime. A lot of anime studios have done this in the past. And I want a new studio to come. I want to see, you know, the whole reason we did celebrate International Animation Month is because I was looking all around the world to see other studios doing stuff like Studio Ghibli or just creative storytelling. And I want that from other countries. It doesn't need to be Studio Ghibli, it doesn't need to be Japanese, could be American, could be French, could be whatever. But Studio Ghibli on the whole, I don't know what's going to happen to them. Like, maybe they do need to pull back and gather their resources and come back with another good movie. I don't see it happening because I think I see their style, and I wanted to make more movies. I just don't see them financially making a big boom, and that's just a sad state of affairs. What they have said is that they might exist just as a holding company to actually rebrand and re-release their movies and just be Studio Ghibli might exist as a licensing company only, which is sad, but you know, that's business, man. The animation game is so hard, especially for the Japanese right now, in terms of finances, in terms of awareness, in terms of just creativity, man. And Studio Ghibli, they've been around for so long, giving us so much great classics. And they've made me a very happy man. Some of my favourite anime is Studio Ghibli releases. Like I said, Kiki's Delivery Service is a masterpiece. The Tale of Princess Kaguya. Guys, if you haven't seen that movie, check it out. But this movie I just saw, this being their last movie, it was sweet, but it would be a shame if they ended, I wish they could end a bit stronger, but even if this was the last movie they ever made, it would not be the worst ending, I guess. But man, people aren't talking about Studio Ghibli the way they used to. But, you know, in terms of international animation, Studio Ghibli have left a name for themselves. They've left a legacy. And I, you know, get my hats off to them. They have done phenomenal work. I respect them. I look up to them. All the guys there. And, you know, people have spoken about Studio Ghibli's death. Mostly about the animation. But the music in Studio Ghibli is really great as well. Let me end on saying, guys, they did a concert about a few years ago. I put a link on the screen. All the music of Studio Ghibli, they celebrated for 25 years. I think this came out at the time when Ponyo was released as a movie. Check out on the screen, guys. If you like Studio Ghibli, if you feel the pain of their demise as well as much as I do, let me know in the comments down below. I don't think Studio Ghibli would die. I know I've said that about 3 different times, but the future's not looking good for them. But I just want to say thank you, Studio Ghibli. I know I've been very critical on you, and that's because you guys are in a league of your own. I critique them against their own works. They're on a whole nother level. And all the guys, all the staff, they've changed my life as an animation lover, as a fan. They've done so much great for the world of animation. And I'm sad to see this happen to them. And, you know, again, I did want to comment on this. And if you listen to my ramble, I appreciate you getting this far. But you know what? They've done good. We do want to respect them. We respect them here on Planet Tyro. And, you know, let me end on saying this. Even I, to this day, haven't seen every Studio Ghibli movie. There's probably like 3 or 4 I put on the screen that I heard they weren't great, but now I'm going to watch the rest. But guys, check out The Tale of Princess Kaguya. That's a really, really, really good one. I'll put a link in the description, like I said, for all the other retrospectives that Studio Ghibli have done. Other YouTubers, other bloggers have done. There's been great websites. They have a fantastic DVD collection box set that I plan to get one day. But this video, being the last for Celebrate International Animation Day, had to be the longest because I had to speak about one of the most prolific, influential animation studios that I've probably seen the end of its life. Probably. But I just have to give my thanks to them. And here at Planet Tyro, we love Studio Ghibli. We really appreciate them. Even though a lot of their stuff are admittedly hit or miss. But the guys, they did something that's gonna last forever. And who knows what the future holds. But I wish the best for everyone at the studio, everyone that's associated with them. And I look forward to going back and reading. Reading. Is it this? Because I never read the manga. But guys, stay tuned and we'll get to that later. But let's end that, guys. So that brings CIAD to a close for this year, 2015. It's been a great one. I'm glad we ended on Studio Ghibli. I know people thought we hate Ghibli. We don't hate it. If you got this far in the podcast video ramble of mine, thank you for watching. Again, leave a comment in the comments down below. We want to hear your thoughts on the whole Studio Ghibli thing. And that's pretty much it because I've rambled on long enough, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit that annotation on the screen over there for the other stuff we've done. And until then, guys, I'm going to take a very long overdue rest. See you on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace out.